We have Lieutenant Governor Glenn McConnell with us right here today. You've been on a continuation of your face of aging, is that right?
That is correct, and we're really in the last day of it before Christmas here in Greenwood. We'll be at the Lions Club today for their luncheon, speaking on it, and then we'll be all returning to our respective cities for the Christmas holidays.
Absolutely. Well, you were here back in October, and of course you had just started these tours and everything. Glenn, I know that changing from being as powerful as you were to being the lieutenant governor was kind of made you sad at one point, but what are you thinking now?
Well, I was very sad. It's a great question because I asked, why did this happen to me? 31 and a half years to get where I was, living a political dream. But this has been a learning curve for me, and what's happened is I've had an opportunity to get out and see the aging issue, the face of aging. I've seen a lot of faces, a lot of experiences, a lot of struggles, and then I look at myself, and I've been given the opportunity with my experience, with my connections with the folks in Columbia, to go out and create this face, take it back to them, and make a change. So I've gone from being a person who was sad about where they were, becoming a person who's very joyful about the fact that I've been given this opportunity. And so now I'm very content with it. And somebody asked me this week, there's a vacancy opened up in the Charleston area to go to Congress. And I believe I could win that seat, but then I would be leaving behind what I started, which was to finish this and to make this change. And so I'm going to stay focused on this change. I'm going to stay focused on trying to turn this state around on the question of aging and to prepare for the great tsunami. So here I am at Christmas time. I feel like I've really been blessed now to be given this opportunity, and I want to make good on it.
Absolutely. Well, you know, in the election, it was changed up that in the future, I guess, what was it, 2000, when will that, the lieutenant governor and the governor will run on the same ticket?
That'll be 2018.
2018. So there's one more election, I guess, before. Is that right?
That is correct. Before the lieutenant governor will become handpicked by the governor and will serve with the governor elected. So whoever, if it's me or someone else, will be the last lieutenant governor that heads up the Office on Aging and does this particular job.
That's going to really change things, isn't it?
It is. It's going to change things quite a bit. And look, to your listeners out there, in one person we've discovered on this tour that's figured out how to stop the time clock.
Who's that?
Nobody has. That's the point I'm making. Now, I've seen some people that have defied it.
Right.
I've seen people at 106 years old, in their 90s, alert, mobile. But with all these seniors, with all the struggles that they have confronted, I have seen almost universally smiles on their face to the people that we've helped, and to the people that we serve, to the people that are being served by nonprofits and churches and things. Look, again, I don't know if I said it before. Seniors aren't looking for handouts. They're looking for a helping hand. And the message has been universal. I've seen the good, the bad, the mediocre. It's a consistent message. I want to stay home. If at all possible, I want to stay home. Now, let me condition my remarks by saying there's a time and a place for skilled nursing homes. Sure. And I'm saying nothing against those. And there's a time and a place for assisted living for some. But we don't have enough nursing home beds. They should need to be used very preciously. We don't have the assisted living facilities. And one of the things I've encountered are the roadblocks and problems that are put in private businesses' way by state government and the federal government that make it difficult, and sometimes to some of these people they feel nearly impossible to carry on their businesses because of overregulation.
Absolutely. And
it's frustrating. I talked with a group of business people yesterday that started assisted living, and they've just been inundated with inspectors from DHEC.
Yes.
And yet we had to pull people out of a facility that DHEC licensed, and it didn't have a refrigerator or a kitchen.
Okay.
And they were feeding seniors there. So, and then I turn around and have facilities that are spotless, and they turn around and take the time and the effort to write up. Now, assisted living is not a skilled nursing home.
Sure.
And they wrote this gentleman up because one of the people in the apartments that he has in under the same roof
Right.
with the rooms, the lady had a can of hairspray, and they considered it toxic substance. Hairspray. Can you believe that?
No.
Can you
not.
believe that the bureaucrats have so little to do that they would, but they couldn't find anything else wrong? Well, you know, why not thank the fellow
Right.
for running a good facility and caring for his patients and saying, by the way, right now, how about do something, just make sure that hairspray, oh no, not the mindset that we've got. And with some of this. Let me give you another example of what I saw. A sidewalk to nowhere. They required this facility to build a sidewalk down the side of the building and to the back. It's a skilled nursing facility. Nobody goes back there because nobody comes out the building. Then after he spent all that money to do that, the Fed inspectors come in and say, if you're going to have a sidewalk there, now you got to have not just a single lighting system, a dual lighting system. So thousands of precious dollars get wasted because of overregulation. And then I turn around and I go to another place where we were delivering meals, and I meet this lady who's lost her legs to diabetes, and she's sitting in her bed. She's been able to get, we got over 8,000 on the waiting list, and she's been on it several months, and she, with just joy-filled eyes, says, I asked her, I said, what do these meals mean to you that we're able to get in here? And she said, she called me governor, she says, it's given me the strength to pull myself out of this bed and get in that wheelchair and live again.
Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. So then I see money wasted because of overregulation. And then I turn around and see somebody like that. Let me give you one of the most ridiculous overregulated stories. An Alzheimer's unit. They still have the cognitive skills to read.
Sure.
In comes DHEC and the fire marshal. They don't like the automatic locking system that they have at the doors, which will automatically unlock if the power goes off, so they can get out because of a fire, which will open up, I think it was 5 seconds after you hold on. But they didn't like that. They wanted it to activate after 1 second of holding the lever. And you put a sign up there to tell that if you push on it and hold it for a second or more, the door will unlock.
Sure.
Now, they have an automatic locking system up above they can't reach for that the attendants there could unlock the door for the seniors if they had a fire.
Right.
In steps our faithful government and wants a sign up which now tells the Alzheimer's patients how to get out. And a street is not a half a car length away from the side of the building. And then on the other side is this fenced-in area that's for them to go outside. And they got a gate there, and they had the automatic locking system on it, and they said, oh no, under our regs now, you got to put a breakaway padlock there. Well, how do you break away the padlock? Well, put a hammer up there. Now, why would you put a hammer in reach for an Alzheimer's? I mean, it's
So
sad.
what's going on here?
It's sad. Well, what it is, government, number one, the regulatory process is all messed up. We should require the General Assembly to vote on every single regulation that comes before them. Because what's happened, and these regulations ought to expire. They need to be revisited. Mm-hmm. But what you got is you got an army of bureaucrats making laws and imposing them on the public, and apparently they have no practical experience, or some of them lack common sense.
Or they're not getting any advice from those that are working in this situation.
Exactly. And that's why, you know, somebody might say, well, what are y'all doing out there? The only way you learn about what's going on
Sure.
is to go out and experience it, see it, and talk to the people on ground zero who deal with it every day.
Absolutely.
So I hope to take that message back to the General Assembly. On one hand, we see a waste of money because of overregulation. And then on the other hand, I see a lack of direction of money where what we've learned since I was last here is that truly we can for sure stop that migration to the skilled nursing bed. But what we offer is 49 times cheaper than the skilled nursing bed. And yet the program that does that is cut 48%, and the other program has continued to grow by the hundreds of millions.
Unbelievable. I am here with Lieutenant Governor Glenn McConnell. We're going to hear a quick word from our sponsors. When we come back, we'll be right here. Hey, if you've got a question for him, give us a call, 229-7984. That's 229-7984. We'll be right back.
Arg! Are you a pirate or a pack rat? Do you have a vacation of a lifetime sitting in the attic? Or a college tuition hung on a wall? Or is a fabulous retirement hidden in your jewelry box? Bring those items to Sharp Facets Gallery. We can establish value and buy from you or sell for you. And so ends another chapter at Sharp Facets Gallery, 72 Bypass, and on the web, sharpfacets.com.
Oh, that's right. We are right back here with Lieutenant Governor Glenn McConnell. We are talking about the face of aging, and I think this has been quite a journey for you, Glenn.
It has been.
You've been up and down across the state. You have certainly seen so many things, and of course your purpose for doing that was to be able to bring all the information together.
That is correct. And as we've assembled this information, we spent about 6 hours organizing it one day. We took the day off, put it together, organized it, and started putting it in what we call an organizational framework for a strategic plan. Then we hit back out on the road again, and we discovered new things with everywhere we go. This past week, I had a chance to look at a successful operation in adult daycare. People bring adult children or young people out of school with disabilities that they keep during the day so they can go to their job. Mm-hmm. Then people with Alzheimer's, the caregiver needs to get out, and they have their own life. They may be working. They need somebody to help.
It's very difficult to deal with adults, seniors, young people with disabilities. It's very difficult to deal with that on a day in, day out as a parent or caregiver. It's very difficult and wearing.
Exactly. And this facility does a great job. And they've got them separated. I went through the facility. I was really impressed with what they were doing. So I asked them, I said, how many days a week are you all open? And 5. I said, well, why don't you open on Saturday? And I said, would there be a demand? She said, oh, there'd be a terrific demand for it. People need to go out shopping, grocery shopping, things. If they could leave, and on like Saturday night, where they could go out to dinner, if they've got somebody that they need to be looked after, or if they have an Alzheimer's victim, they keep them one of their parents or something at the house. And I said, why aren't you doing that? And they said, because we'd have to go back through relicensing. I said, well, what is the difference in the service that you would provide on Saturday that you don't provide on Friday? None. How about the face of the population? None.
And why do you have to get relicensed?
Regulation. DHEC regulations.
And these are statewide regulations.
These are statewide.
We're not talking federal
no.
yet. We're talking state.
We're talking state.
Unbelievable.
Now, they have federal ones to comply with, but in this particular instance, then I asked her, I said, well, could somebody like drop, oh, no, you got to have them here for a minimum of 5 hours. They got to be here 5. I said, what does it matter if they're here 3 hours or 5 hours?
Exactly.
You're providing a service. And then she showed me the beds they had that they could keep overnight the Alzheimer's, for the reason that Alzheimer's victims, and I call them because they are victims, sadly, it would allow that they're almost nocturnal. They're most active at night.
Sure.
The family members could go home and sleep and come get them for the day, so they could care for them. They cannot. That takes another license, even though they have everything in their license to do things. Some of these things during the week. Now the overnight, not during the week, but it's just unbelievable. And so here we are with resources, demand, a need, and government is in the way rather than facilitating. And that's why I hope people hear, you should demand at this point that the legislature reach back and take the authority from the executive branch and require that regulations, they get an affirmative vote. With the invisible growth of government is on the regulatory front. 120 days after they're filed in the state, they go into law. On the federal level, 60 days after. And we got all of these politicians running around. They're all against limited government. But they silently, on the federal level and the state level, continue to allow this to go on. So nobody can say they don't know about it. We're going to bring it to the front. And then let me speak very quickly to your listeners, because people say, well, some of these people were poor and they continue to struggle. No, I've seen people who come from good backgrounds. I'm going to give you an example of a lady. She's one of I consider to be really the poster for why it can happen to anybody. She's a veteran. She's a retired nurse. She told me, she said, I thought I had it made in my retirement. Everything taken care of. And almost overnight. She planned.
Yep.
Almost overnight, an illness took her eyesight. She's blind. She told me she quickly started going through her assets, paying somebody to drive her to a supermarket, take her to a drugstore, take her to clothes to the cleaners. Everyday things that she could handle, she no longer could. Mm-hmm. She had to have somebody come in and clean. Then some people stole from her. She started going through everything she had. Mm. And she, all of a sudden, then had the stress of she didn't think she could make it alone. And fortunately, by taking a meal in a day and one trip to the supermarket a month so she can buy for her pets and stuff, we've been able to stabilize her situation. She stays healthy. Otherwise, she's got to go in a home somewhere. She'll quickly go through that, end up on Medicaid, $52,000 a year. And so, to your listeners, it can happen to anybody.
Even with good planning.
Even with good planning. And to senior centers, let me tell you why they're so valuable. I was at one senior center where the seniors were there, and the gentleman stopped me and grabbed my arm, and he said, "Can I talk to you for a minute?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "I want to tell you what the senior center's done for me." He said, "It's released me from the 4 walls of horror."
4 walls of horror.
And I said, what are the 4 walls of horror? And he said, the horror is the constant sound of my TV or the silence of my house. I'm blind now. And he said, I come down to the senior center. I hear voices. People talk to me. I hear laughter. And
he's alive.
He said, I'm alive.
Yes.
And he said, I can sit here and I just have a wonderful time. He said, it's given me hope in life. So,
well, we're social creatures. We are social creatures.
We are.
Humans are social creatures. And we should not take and put in little boxes anybody.
Exactly.
Anybody. That's
anybody.
Right. Yeah.
So, here we are in the season of the light, and these helping hands allow these people to remain independent, to remain at home. It gives them hope and light in the darkness. So, to me, it's just, if we'll just use some common sense and some flexibility and not let our ideologies and our partisan positions get in the way and say, look, we got a coming great tsunami. We got a grand opportunity, but we can have a grand miss. And if we miss, it's going to be a budget buster and a calamity.
Well, I know one of the things that you are very much into, and I think this is terrific, is that you think we should put the faith-based, the church, the Meals on Wheels, all these programs motivate, make them work together, or not make them, but help them work together to be able to facilitate this need.
You're dead on the money, because we can't make it without them. Part of, I think, what will be in the strategic plan is home and community-based, and how we weave together. I call it like a fabric. It's a flexible fabric. In some areas, we have strong meal-to-wheel programs. We have some churches doing meal deliveries. So what we can do is take our state dollars, which are flexible, and come in on a very limited basis and say, all right, they have meals, they have this, but they don't have a homemaker service, somebody that can come in and clean the house. Then we'll make that happen. And what we got to do is to take these disconnected resources and connect them in an informational and operational thing where we just collaboratively work together. I met with some Meals on Wheels programs yesterday, and how we complement and build that fabric. I hope people hear me. The government does not have the money to bail out this problem. This is going to take the grand coalition to work together. And so we need to put a face to it, a story to it, and hopefully touch people's hearts. And they'll go out. People ask me when I speak to service clubs, what can we do? I tell them, adopt a seniors center. Adopt some seniors in a home. These OSS facilities, I don't have time to explain what they are, but just toiletries, they only have $53 a month after everything else to pay for their medicine and their toiletries. Delivering basics like toothpaste, deodorant, and things like that are wonderful gifts for these people that help them and help us bridge the gulf. So that's what it's going to take.
And you know what? We never know when we ourselves may be in that situation.
You're exactly correct.
So it is time for everybody to step up here and do the little things. You know, it's always the little things that can make things happen, isn't it? You know, it doesn't always have to be the grand, the big. It's like you said, the toiletries and the small things that really can put a smile on somebody's face.
It makes you're exactly right, and it makes such a qualitative difference in the struggle that they're in. And let me tell you, since I've seen seniors that they've lost their children and they have their grandchildren, and they're on walkers, and that family unit is staying together. That's why I say, whether you're a conservative or a liberal, moderate, whatever you call yourself, this thing should have an appeal to you.
Absolutely.
It's about keeping the family unit. It's about operational independence. It's about doing the physically prudent thing, and it's the humanitarian thing to do. And so, you know, it's a problem that both of us know there's no solution for at this point. But we develop a strategic plan, develop some goals, and then try to implement those goals by building this fabric together. But I've got to get this General Assembly to recognize you don't cut a program that's 48% and it's 49 times cheaper than the alternative.
Well, we have real issues down there in the state government. I mean, we just had the hacking that's going to cost billions millions of dollars.
Isn't that awful?
It is.
If DOR, and I believe I spoke about DOR when I was on your program before, because they're a sore spot with me. I watched them when I was in the Senate, going into businesses, going through their sales tax records, and interpreting things as taxable that the General Assembly never taxed, never made. If they had spent as much time on their own records as they did on trying to squeeze and beat money out of businesses that didn't know it across South Carolina, I don't believe that the people of this state would be in the mess they're in.
Wow. Well, there you go. You have heard it right here on WCRS with our own Lieutenant Governor. I know you've got more issues that you're looking at as we go forth, and I know that there's probably a battle shaping up next year, isn't there? With the Senate, with the House, with the representatives down there. There's going to be a battle shaping up.
And what I'm hopeful is that I can bring this story to them. And that by exposing it to more and more, and like service clubs, that's why I'm coming to the Lions Club here in Greenwood today, I can build the grassroots. And those members of the General Assembly are good people. I've served with them. But they don't know. It's just it's a line item in an 800-plus page book. And they never debate it. They never investigate it. They got so much to do. And that's what I find so ironic about my own political party. That in their platform, and these constant calls for the General Assembly to spend less time in Columbia. I want them to read the bills. I want them to read the regs. I want them to vote up and down on the regs. We need elected people there making laws, not unelected bureaucrats governing our life through regulations. And it's just a crazy mindset to think that a complicated government like this, you can solve it by centralizing power under one person and cutting the days that the General Assembly's in session. That to me is just the dumbest equation that I've ever seen.
Well, there you go. You've heard it right here with Lieutenant Governor Glenn McConnell. He's been on the inside. He's been at the bottom. He's near the top now.
I'm about at the top.
I said you're near the top. There, you're near the top. And I tell you what, you've seen it all, haven't you, Glenn?
I have.
And
I've seen it all over the years.
And I really appreciate you stopping by to see us here this morning. I know you've got other things to see, and I know that we'll have you back on again because we'll either be sitting down or maybe I'll come down there to Columbia and see you right down there.
That'd be great. And it's a pleasure. I really enjoy coming on and having this opportunity to look at these issues and talk with people about it. And thank you for your interest. And to all of you listeners, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Absolutely. Merry Christmas to you, Lieutenant Governor Glenn McConnell. We're going to play a little music here for a few minutes. I'm going to go up and see if I can show him something in the store here before he all heads out. He's got quite a crew with you, don't you?
I sure do. We're on the move. We're headed out to some facilities. One of them we're not going to today because they've got a flu problem there. But
have you had your flu shot?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
I sure have.
That's great. Well, we'll look forward to your next return. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you.
All right. Andy, take it away, please.